Welcome to Lettius Sports Talk. I'm your host, Enrique Lettius. Lord Stanley, pack your bags. You're heading to Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. So the Golden Knights win Game 6. They defeat the Dallas Stars from a score of 6-0. Absolutely dog-walked them on that game. Right from the beginning, they just dominated the game. I think that, you if you're in for you're in that game and you're looking just at the first 5 minutes of it, there was just absolutely no fight by the Stars going up against the Knights in that, just even the first five. I think that they got absolutely dominated. The first 5 minutes, the Knights took control. There was really heavy forecheck, and just all game long there was that heavy forecheck. So much speed by the Knights all game long. I think it was interesting to me because I thought that the Knights they actually didn't play their usual game, in my opinion, of what they would normally do, where they would kind of wait, be a little patient, wait for mistakes, and do this and that, and they would put the pressure on. But this game, they just kind of went straight for it, took advantage of the game right away, and it was just they really wanted it. You could really feel that they were just let's end it, let's end this shit quickly, let's end it early, and they did. They early on they put pucks in the net, and they put pucks towards the net too, which is something that I think a lot of people will sometimes mistake. Just because you are in the offensive zone doesn't always mean that the other team's feeling pressure. They're in the zone, but if they're not doing anything, they're just passing it. Sometimes other teams just being patient, they're waiting, and then they just kind of wait for the mistake to happen and take the puck the other way. But when you're in the other zone and you're always throwing pucks to the net, I think that's more so where the other team gets a little bit they start to feel a little bit, especially the goal. If there's always a shot, and if any time the Knights go in the zone and they always at least put the puck towards the net, it forces Ottinger to have to do something and track the puck, and maybe it's a scoring chance here and there. So the fact that it did so much of that early on, I think really helped in at least getting the Stars on their toes a little bit. And they did. They didn't really, again, they didn't generate a whole lot. I think that the Vegas the Knights' legs were with them all game. They had especially on the third goal, right? They just had that nice give and go move. They were to bank it off the board. Just the way that they transitioned the puck back and forth, they really had such good vision on the ice. It was one of those games where everything that could go right for the Knights did. And the Stars, I think that they just seemed shell-shocked, right? And I don't, when I said they didn't put up a fight, it wasn't because that they're a weak team. It wasn't because they weren't a good team. I think it was just more of they were so okay, what the fuck is all this? Knights were just going and going and going, and the Stars were just trying to counterpunch a little bit. So and it's tough, right? Because you have Ben back in the lineup. You think that's going to give you some momentum, and doesn't really do so. I know there are people who kind of thought maybe you should have sat him and keep the same lineup for the past two games. I think, if you're DeBoer, first year with the Stars, and you're in this situation, elimination game, and you bench your captain, I don't know how that's going to go over, right? Especially if let's say you lose and you bench your captain. Now people are all right, well, what the hell is this guy doing? What the fuck is he benching Ben for? But then there's another side of it where you won the past two games without him. Team's been playing well. You kind of stick with the same team that got you these wins, and I think it's a tough call. I think looking back, hindsight's 2020. If you make that decision and you bench him, but then you win, right? Then you're a genius, right? So who knows? But I think he probably did the safe call. I'm not going to say it was the right call because obviously they lost, but he made his decision there to go with Ben, and I can't really fault him for that. I don't think a lot of people can fault him for that. A lot of the game by the Vegas Knights was helped by their fourth line. And I think, when you have production by the fourth line like they had in that game, that really helps just make things I wouldn't say easy, but it really gives you it helps take the pressure off your top guys, because now the Eichel, he didn't get a goal this playoff, right? Or this series. He didn't get a goal this series. And, now he's oh, whoa, we got 5. We got 3 goals quickly. We got another 4 and then 5 and 6. It's all right. He just has to, move the puck along and he's fine, So I think when their fourth line steps up like they did was huge. Collectively they got 2 goals, 3 assists, 6 shots. That's pretty damn good. So that I think that's another secret. I wouldn't say secret weapon, but like another thing in their back pocket that like heading into the playoffs or heading to the Cup Finals now. You want that momentum. Like, all right, if you're the fourth liner, right, I'm guessing they're probably like, okay, here we go. Like, we got momentum. If they put us on against the Panthers, let's at least we have a chance to have some production, and we're heading into the playoffs and the final with momentum there. And that's huge, right? You want that, especially going up against a Panthers team that they're also a team where it's not like 1 or 2 guys. It's like a collective group. I mean, obviously Kachuk was huge in that series. Barkov's insane in that series, so you got a bunch of guys there, Verhaeghe, Reinhardt. A lot of the guys at the Panthers, they're a team. Like, they really work together as a team. So the Knights not being a, one-dimensional 2-3 player team is huge for them, that they can kind of come in with a bit more well-rounded. But yeah, I think, when you look over at the Stars side of the puck, it's just, you kind of feel like I watched every game of that series, but you're just watching the past like 2-3 games, the final 2-3 games. You're like, man, how do they keep pulling out wins, and they were in it and they just kept going and going. And I think it finally came to a point this game where, I don't know if it's actually true, but you just kind of look at it and go, all right, they kind of ran out of gas. Like, it's finally like, okay, you play elimination game after elimination game after elimination game, and it gets to a point where you are trying to hold up this dam, and all the water's pouring through, and finally the dam breaks, and then you lose it. But they didn't have that fight, that fight back. And look, Ottinger, I think, personally, I didn't think Ottinger was like lights out this series. He got pulled a couple games in the series, but this game I think he played well. This was not a 6-0 game in the sense that he didn't like fuck this up. Like, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't on Ottinger. And so I think you look at a lot of chances on him in this game, and it's like, all right, well, I mean, I think the only one I really thought he could have made a good stop was that was it third goal, maybe the fourth goal, where I think it was a second period, basically a breakaway down the middle, goes to his 5-hole. Like, all right, like, you kind of want, especially goes 5-hole, wasn't the craziest, like, quickest shot or whatever, but it's still a breakaway. I guess you have to give the nice player credit for that. But that one, maybe you could have had to stop. But other than that, I think, especially like earlier in the series, whenever the Knights would go up early in the first period, and it was just a boom, 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 right? Little bing, bang, boom. It was like hard for the Stars to kind of climb back. And you kind of get that sense, just like, even though it's a new game each time, you're kind of like, all right, shit, like, this is like the past couple games ago, right? Like, when they were playing, and it gets in your head a little bit. And now you're thinking, because when it's like a couple goals down early, and I'm sure Andre in his head is probably like, all right, I can't like let in 4 goals because it's hard for us to get a goal on the Knights. All of a sudden it starts to just become this big monster. It's like, all right, now we're getting 3 goals. Oh, now they got 4. Oh, now they got 5. And now it seems completely out of hand, like out of reach for us to even come back. And when you're a team that doesn't score like as often, at least in this series, Stars kind of put up a good fight, and they had those times that they won, they were able to get some offense going, but like, for the most part, I think Vegas was just the better team this series. And when you have that, there's extra pressure on Ottinger to almost be like perfect. You can't let in more than 2 goals per game or whatever, because goals for them were hard to come by against Vegas. So yeah, I mean, it just seemed like to me they ran out of gas. They ran a little bit out of gas, and it didn't feel like we were going to see a comeback this time around from them. But credit to them for still sticking in it. It was too much. And kind of finally at the end, game 6, we're able to make that final comeback to get the game 7. But still, credit to them for sticking in the series for as long as they did. So overall, I think, this series, I think the Stars, I heard about it on like the Spin Chicos podcast, and I agree. It's like, Stars lack that defensive presence, that really strong person back there to kind of steer the ship on that end, and to kind of be a shutdown, almost like how, I think how Carolina is, like Brent Burns is for Carolina. trying to think of like other teams who have like, who at least current teams who just came in. I mean, you see it a little bit like, I mean, Gudis, maybe, is he the most talented guy in the world? No, but he's like a presence, and he's, I mean, he's a talented dude. I'm just saying like the most talented defenseman on that roster. There's definitely a lot of great guys in that squad. But you don't need to be, fucking like Carlson, whoever, but like if you're able to go out there and really shut down top guys, I think that's that's something that they were lacking. I think, in this series specifically, I think the Stars' top guys outside of Robertson, they needed to step up, and they didn't. We didn't hear from Ben outside of that bad, play he did on Stone. We didn't hear from Sagan. Haskin and Hintz were in it a little bit, but Robertson was the guy this series that got him those production and those goals, and it's good on him. He's an awesome player. He's definitely going to be there for the coming years, whatever. But like you're starting to think now, like, okay, well, moving forward, and Domi wasn't really that much of a factor, but like you're moving forward, like who do you keep? And I don't know all the details in terms of their free agents and stuff like that, so I'm not gonna get into it now. But like just in terms of the series, like we didn't hear from a lot of other guys and who are the top the top players of the Stars, and you need that. And when you're this deep in the run, you at least need something, right? It may not be a goals and stuff on the score sheet, but you need something. And I don't think that they had a whole lot of anything as much. You didn't hear from them. And I think Vegas right now, they seemed more well seasoned, I guess, best word, like, and they were the better team, and they're more like, all right, this is their chance to make it back to the Cup Finals. They've been in these close series before. For whatever reason, right? Certain games just didn't go their way. Especially that, I remember years ago, that series with the Sharks, that crazy ass game. Things don't go their way. And here's a chance to take advantage of a Stars team that, they're kind of up against it. And they just like, right, let's close it out. Let's finish them. Let's make it to the Cup. And let's fight for the Cup. They were way more hungry for it, just because the Stars team's already burnt out and all that. And, they're ready to do it. And also, like we talked about this game, the Vegas supporting guys stepped up. You got your fourth line, to produce for you, so like when you got that, I mean, that's such a good recipe to succeed in a series. And like again, Eichel didn't even have to get a goal for Vegas to win, and like and not just win but dominate some games. I think looking forward, I think Vegas and the Panthers, they have similar styles in terms of like their forecheck and capitalizing on mistakes, like waiting for the team to make that mistake. I mean, you look back at that Hurricane series, and there were, I can't remember which overtime it was, but basically like there was a point in time where the Hurricanes were dominating on one end, and then the Panthers just come right back with a really good chance, like in overtime, and like boom, that's how quick they are. They can just take that puck. If there's one mistake, take it, run with it, right? Toronto, like there was remember that game, I can't remember which game, but Toronto was dominating the first period of that game. And boom, Panthers go the other way, and it was like they go in, and I think it was 1-0 heading into the second, and then in a matter of like a minute and a half or 3 minutes, it was like 2-1 Panthers, or 3-2 Panthers, or something like that. Again, it was like that's just how they play, and they're really good at being able to again capitalize on mistakes. And so are the Vegas Knights. They have a good forecheck. Both teams have good forecheck. But I think Vegas definitely, their story there is they got more experience, and they're looking back. They've had close calls. The one in 18, they had that close call against the Caps. Weren't able to get it then. But you look at the Panthers, and they're the story of like, it's been a long ass time since they've made it, right? Since '96 when Van Beesbrook led them, and they got swept by the Avalanche with Patrick Waugh just on a tear after being basically a revenge season against the Canadiens. But, I think looking forward, it's going to be a fun Cup run. It's pretty new. I like how it's like new teams, because like, I mean, I know people probably don't like the fact that it's not a Canadian market, and it's very different teams, but I think it's good for the game. I think it's good for the game to have both the Heat and the Panthers in the finals, have Vegas. Vegas is always a good market to grow in, it's such a great place. I think it's going to be a fun Cup final. I don't really have one team I'm really, really rooting for. I'd be happy if either team wins. But I'd say I'm going to go for the Panthers if I had to pick one. I think that they have a great story. I think Tkachuk has just been awesome. He's kind of grown on me. I think just the way that he's such a good leader for that team and all that. And of course, you got Bobrovsky, who I thought has been playing lights out. But the Vegas too, they have a great story there too. Aiden Hill steps in. Stoner, Eichel being kind of booed out of Buffalo and having a great basically comeback season, and the story of the Knights, right, just being an expansion team, to have just been in it. I don't know if it's actually true, but I think there was a story about how like the owner of the Knights said like once the team, you know, in the first season, they're like, all right, give us 6 years and we'll win a cup in 6 years or something like that. I think that's true, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that one. But overall, I thought, you know, again, this series with the Stars, the Knights dominated. There wasn't really a point in this series where I ever thought Vegas was really in trouble. I think they did have the better team. And we'll see how they do against the Panthers. Should be a fun one. Should be exciting. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you have any for between these two teams. But excited for it. Stick around on this channel if you like this video. Hit subscribe. I will be making more videos on this series, on the Cup Finals. And should be a fun one. All right. Or not. You know, you don't have to subscribe. It doesn't really matter. But it would be nice if you did. That's it for this video. Good series. Hats off to the Stars. Hats off to DeBoer. Really classy. And his post-game interview, you know, he's a former Golden Knight coach. Had a lot of good things to say about the Knights. And it should be a fun one. Good two teams. Good matchups. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll catch you guys later.